You were at work
I was at work
yesterday,
yesterday night.
11 o'clock at night?
No, the restaurant closes at 10, so it happened before then.
Okay.
Just probably in between, probably 9:30, 10.
All right. And this isn't the news or anything. Like, we're good.
I don't watch news,
Oh, fuck yeah. All right.
so
Did you already get tips? Like, did you know, like, okay, like, this is a good night to make money? It was the full moon, too. And you were working.
yeah. But at Bill's Pizza, we're a churn and burn. We're not fine dining. We're not. We offer pizza and salads.
Yeah, but it's popular, like,
It's
touristy,
popular,
it's cheap.
touristy, but tourists are cheap.
Okay, for sure,
Foreigners
for sure.
are cheap.
Yeah, they're travelers.
Families are cheap.
And it's the desert.
It's the desert.
Yeah.
Love my gay boys. Thank God for them.
Yeah, they're rich.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They come in and they're very
Generous.
love my boys.
Okay, that
Yeah.
gives me hope.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you're walking around, you're doing your thing,
And I was going,
did anything feel different before anything in your eyes changed?
it was a crazy night last night.
Like, why do you remember what happened beforehand?
Well, because we were all, I can remember standing by the computer, and my friend Tamara was walking by, and Cisco was working the cash register, and we kind of just all looked at each other, and we're like, did you guys see that? And we're like, yeah. But then we just kept walking. And then we came in, I started to do the computer and put my tips in for the end of the night, and it wouldn't let me do it. It kept saying authorizing, and it said, oh, modem down, check your... So then, I don't know, for some reason, Ken, the manager on duty, went to pick up the phone and there was no dial tone. So we're like, that's weird. And then that's when we said, well, somebody must have hit a modem or something, a transformer or something blew.
But I mean, no dial tone and the power goes out. Was it like the power went out or just a flash?
Flickered. Yeah, it just flickered. The lights just flickered.
Because it was like really hard here. It was like, okay, I mean.
But though you said downtown, so did a transformer blow?
But now that different people are confirming there was an explosion, there was a white flash, like, what happened? Because that's not cool. Like,
yeah, and I'm surprised that we haven't heard anything about it.
turn my mic up.
'Cause I'm so scared. They got you straight shook, make you second guess, make you take a second look. If you listen to this, then you should have read my other book. You into spooky stuff, but you don't like scary stories? I'm paying to recruit like a mom named Lori. It's like Boy Meets World and I play Corey. Episode 15, telling ghost stories. Tony Merkel in this bitch and he ain't even worried. Straight shook. Straight shook. Straight shook.
Welcome to ERTH.
December of 2019 brought with it a Friday the 13th, which I didn't see much traction or publicity about it. But for me, leading up to that day and the days after, I will never forget. December 12th was a Thursday, obviously. I went and worked for a client, and I got home, and with it being on the cusp of the weekend, I was tired. I was pretty wiped. So I went ahead and laid myself down to sleep probably right before 10 or at 10 p.m. And going to sleep was no problem. I'm awakened by this loud pulsing like pop or boom. And the thing is, I thought I might have been dreaming because I could not move. And I've had dreams where I can't move, but not full on sleep paralysis where I'm conscious and I'm trying to move my body, but my limbs aren't working. This was my limbs, my body was fully functioning. However, there was a weight, a force. It felt like restricting me, like confining me, pressing me down at the same time, like weighing on me and lifting me up. And it was not a dream because I opened up my eyes and I'm in my apartment. I'm in my studio, my bedroom. Everything is as it should be. And I passed out that night with the lights on because it's one room and I was that tired, didn't feel like getting out the bed. The feeling that was ringing through my ears was this pulsation, like a vibration, very loud, like wow, wow, wow. And I open my eyes and my blanket is, everything is vibrating. Everything is in like this frequency, this vibration mode. Not necessarily shaking, but visually it's like a blur. Everything is blurring because it's shaking or vibrating image-wise in a like two-dimensional sense. So the comforter that's on top of or in between me and my dog is floating. It's like I'm looking at space between it and my body, and then I'm seeing my dog looking at me as if he's lying down but levitating as well. And we are all like ascending upwards. Now, because of the confinement, the vibration, the pulsating, even if I was in a dream or this is real life, at that point I was in survival mode. It was fight or flight, and I wasn't going to go out like that. Whether I was dying or being abducted somehow, I started forcefully saying, "Get off of me. Get off of me. Let me go." And in dreams, when I have nightmares, like I call on the name of Jesus. And I was like, in the name of Jesus, release me. Let me go. Like I was mad. I was mad that something had interrupted my sleep, that something was trying to take me, my dog, that it was so forceful. And once I started announcing, proclaiming the name of Jesus, I was released. I was back onto my bed. The vibration stopped, and the lights in my room hued super bright. I mean, so bright with like a pop and a really high pitch frequency, like queued up. And then there was this pop, and I pass out back to sleep. Now, if that were a dream, me in dream state, I'm getting a little bit better at lucid dreaming. I'm not too invested in it, but I know when I'm dreaming. And I have known for a while when I'm dreaming. I do know when I might be half awake, half sleep. Like sometimes I might see like a bug or something or a spider crawling on the wall, and I'll jump out of bed and realize, okay, I was dreaming. This wasn't that. And when I came to or woke up, it was 2 a.m. and everything was in its place. The lights were still on. What was odd is that light that I could really vividly remember hewing brightly right over my front door to the studio. It started to go on and off after that. and it had never done that before. Obviously, light bulbs go out. I mean, I'm under the assumption or understanding that if it's flickering, then either all of a sudden there's bad wiring or the light bulb needs to be changed. But this hadn't happened until this event. And something else that was happening there at 2 a.m. in the morning was that my Simply Safe alarm program, the panel with the numbers and buttons, it's motion activated. When you wave your hand in front of it, the screen lights up, says hello or something. And I wasn't in front of it, but the screen was lighting up as if somebody had waved their hand or stood right in front of it. We had issues in that place before, 4th of July, and the day before the 4th of July, there were 2 earthquakes in California in 2019. It might have been the day after. But I remember on the 4th of July, me and my dog got back from spending the day at the beach in San Diego with my family, and I didn't feel comfortable where I lived for the first time, and I had been there for over 6-7 months at that point. Something was uneasy, and I realize now I get that feeling when there's an unseen presence, unseen to the naked eye. Now to my eye, not to my dog's eye, because that 4th of July, that evening, as tired as we were, spending all day at the beach, all this stuff, driving hours, several hours back and forth to go from the beach to the desert, it was time to go to sleep, and neither me or my dog could sleep. He was looking up in the corner, whimpering, crying, as if he was uncomfortable, but he was looking at something in the corner of the room. And it took about an hour and a half. I mean, I did what I usually do, which is asking, well, I was telling the presence to leave. I was telling it to leave. Obviously proclaiming the name of Jesus, calling on the Lord, and telling whatever was unwelcome to leave. And with lost souls or something like that, I usually don't have an issue, but this was something stubborn. It was very stubborn, and I went to sit on the toilet to pee, because at night I pee sitting down sometimes, and I asked it to leave because I was just getting irritated. I was like, you know what, let me just ask it to leave, because it was messing with my dog. And I did, and as soon as I did, Irie, my dog, stopped crying, stopped whimpering, and I felt that sense of ease and comfort, a sense of relief, like that anxiety, that nervousness in my stomach, that feeling I get from my gift of mediumship or clairvoyance or whatever. It made me aware physically that it was gone, and we went to sleep that night. So I was not opposed to the idea that not just my apartment or the building I was in, but Palm Springs, the Coachella Valley, being out in the desert, Skinwalker Ranch is out that way. Something was going on. Something was definitely going on. And I went to sleep, back to sleep after 2 a.m., probably around 2:30, 3 a.m., to get up and prepared for the next day, Friday the 13th, at work, which is always fun, right? Part 2. The battery. So I had bought my SUV in March of 2019, and so was under warranty, still fairly new, AAA member. I have my coffee, and I get ready to go to work, and I get to my car, and it's not starting. Like, it unlocked, but it's not powering up. And I realize an indicator saying something about the battery. So I call AAA, and I let my client know, hey, I'm running late, having issues with my car. Of course, on Friday the 13th of all days. And the service guy shows up, and he's very odd, like just blank. Like he's doing his job, and he's fine with it, but there's just like this sterility to it. Like he's just very socially sterile. Um, and it landed on me. I'm like, something is off about this guy. And, you encounter people like that out in the desert, whatever. I try not to judge. But I am trusting this person to fix my vehicle. And, he lets me know it had something with the battery. There was an issue. I didn't necessarily need a new battery, but I did need the battery to charge. Now, why my car literally with the keyless entry, and it's not old, so if I were to leave it on, it would indicate that somehow. So maybe the headlights, or if it was, I could see that from my studio, and I was checking my car pretty often at that point. It was right outside in December, and I didn't believe that even if I had left it on, a light or something, that it would just kill the battery like that on a new car. So he jumped it. I went ahead to work, and one of my clients, I guess you could say that the hiring supervisor, I mentioned, this dream, this experience I had the night before. I was like, yeah, really weird, like boom, like vibration, like pulsating, like just felt like electric and just really weird. And she let me know that her husband, who worked for the power company, had to go into work on a call because there was an explosion of a transformer or something in the middle of Palm Springs. And so I was like, oh, really? And she confirmed it. She's like, yeah, he was in bed, and then he got a call because something went down last night. And I was like, okay, like, that would explain it. But, the loud booming noises and the popping sounds, and I still heard what sounded like electrical circuit pops in the morning when I was going out to my car and I was waiting for the AAA guy. So I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the pressure I felt, the vibration, the levitating, and the sudden, it ending with me telling it to stop, calling on the name of Jesus. The bright flash of light, like the lights hewing, this high frequency. If it were a surge explosion, a transformer, then yes, maybe some electricity was surging directly through the wires in my building to cause all this. But what did that have to do with my car not being able to start? I go on to work, do the regular thing, and close to the end of day, I'm hopping out lunch or whatever around 3, 4, and my car won't start again. And I know you're supposed to leave the car running. And I actually did leave it running because it was like an automotive garage I was working at while I was at my desk in plain sight, feet away from my coworkers and stuff. So I was letting the battery charge even after a 30-minute, 40-minute drive to work. So once again, I called AAA, and these guys come out. They're normal, they're chill, don't get any odd feelings. But we end up replacing the battery, and I'm like, man, like that is like super weird, like all that stuff happening last night, and now my electrical stuff in my car is just not functioning properly. Part 3, interview with my neighbor. You were at work
I was at work
yesterday,
yesterday night.
11 o'clock at night?
No, the restaurant closes at 10, so it happened before then.
Okay.
Just probably in between, probably 9:30, 10.
All right. And this isn't the news or anything. Like, we're good.
I don't watch news,
Oh, fuck yeah. All right.
so
Did you already get tips? Like, did you know, like, okay, like, this is a good night to make money? It was the full moon, too. And you were working.
yeah. But at Bill's Pizza, we're a churn and burn. You know, we're not fine dining. We're not.
Mhm.
You know, we offer pizza and salads.
Yeah, but
You
it's
know?
popular, like,
It's
touristy,
popular,
it's cheap.
touristy, but tourists are cheap.
Okay, for sure,
Foreigners are cheap.
Yeah, they're travelers.
Families are cheap.
And it's the desert.
It's the desert.
Yeah.
Love my gay boys. Thank God for them.
Yeah, they're rich.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
okay.
they come in and they're very
Generous.
love my boys.
Okay, that
Yeah.
gives me hope.
Oh yeah.
All right, so you're walking around, you're doing your thing,
And I was going. Well,
did anything feel different before anything in your eyes changed?
it was a crazy night last night.
Like, why do you remember what happened beforehand?
Well, because we were all. I can remember standing by the computer, and my friend Tamara was walking by, and Cisco was working the cash register, and we kind of just all looked at each other and we're like, "Did you guys see that?" And we're like, "Yeah," but then we just kept walking, and then we came in. I started to do the computer and put my tips in for the end of the night, and it wouldn't let me do it. You know, it kept saying authorizing, and it said, "Oh, modem down, check your." So then, I don't know, for some reason, Ken, the manager on duty, went to pick up the phone and there was no dial tone. So we're like, that's weird. And then that's when we said, well, somebody must have hit a modem or something, a transformer or something blew.
But I mean, no dial tone and the power goes out. Was it like the power went out or just
It
a
just
flash?
flickered. Yeah, it just flickered. The lights just flickered.
Because
back
it
on.
was like really hard here. It was like, okay, I mean,
But though you said downtown, so did a transformer blow?
see, I might be mixing up what my coworker said with what my dream was. But you could hear it. I mean, I could hear it this morning too, like more pops. I mean, just weird. For me, it was, I went to sleep. I laid myself down at like 10. I wanted to get up early, go to the gym. And I was just kind of having in and out dreams. That's just how I go to sleep. I know I'm dreaming, and most of the time I just don't remember. But all of a sudden, I'm dreaming. It just felt, I guess it woke me up. The sound woke me up. I remember the pop, the boom. But I thought I was dreaming. And then it was like a wave, because how you're describing it, it almost sounds like it missed you, whatever I felt was. Because what I felt was really
Because you
constricting
had quiet.
and
I had
painful.
noise.
It was so, but it was heavy. It was like a weight, and it was like, wow, 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 wow. And that's when I started yelling, and I was like, get off of me. Get off of me. And it was pressing me to the bed, and Irie looked like he was floating. Like the covers kind of lifted, like static or something, like electricity. And he was just like, and everything. And I was like, in the name of Jesus. I mean, and the time, I don't think it was about what I said. I think it was about the time that it took to say it, because it felt like I had sleep paralysis. But now that different people are confirming there was an explosion, there was a white flash, like, what happened? Because that's not cool. Like,
Yeah. And I'm surprised that we haven't heard anything about it.
Part 4, the breakdown. So after all this, confirming that I'm not alone and the weird oddity of it, maybe it was just a transformer explosion coinciding with this dream state I was in. Okay, maybe. But stuff just started breaking down. Like, okay, I get the light, like electrical serve, bad wiring, old building. The light just randomly starts going on and off. And like, I'm mindful of that because I know spirits pass, sometimes try to communicate through the flickering of light. And I know that everything does not have meaning. It's difficult to divorce those beliefs when I've experienced so much. And people have witnessed this, and you guys have heard on the show before me talk about ghosts and just apparitions and knocks at the door, things like that. But beyond the light and the alarm system just coming on randomly, as if somebody waved it hello, I researched it on YouTube and stuff, and I saw videos of people like noticing that their motion sensors going off when nobody's there. And it would be one thing if I had like a big window on the other side of my apartment or something, but there's a small window. The light wasn't changing. The traffic passing by wasn't affecting it. It's frustrating, and it's also I had to let myself not jump to conclusions, because whether or not the place was haunted, I'm there. Me and my dog are there. And so that means that whatever isn't of me or of God or of love had to go. So I really didn't I just felt like it was provoking me, antagonizing me. And I would, so that was Friday going into Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, I start like hearing while I'm lying in bed and stuff, this loud hissing noise. Not too loud, but something is hissing, like popping, and it sounds like spewing. And so my bed was a Murphy bed in the studio, so you could fold it up, fold it down, and it has these springs, like just general IKEA Murphy bed. And I look behind my mattress, and the spring, this pump of the spring is just spewing out all this yellow fluid, like the fluid that is inside there, never supposed to come out, suddenly, randomly. More so the spring furthest from the front door. So if I'm lying on the bed to my left, the right spring, it was hissing, but it wasn't spewing. And I didn't know like how to get this to stop. I didn't know. I knew, for me, I already knew what caused it, and it was what had happened the night before, going into Friday the 13th. And that moment, because we have the car issue, and now my desktop stopped functioning very well after that. It was like I thought I had malware, and I had a Mac Pro, like a desktop Mac. So to get malware or some virus is not common, but it had a hard time like powering on and off. And the springs in the bed are now, in the Murphy bed, the contraption is breaking down. The alarm system is getting triggered without any, indication why. And I go out on Saturday, and I can't tell you when was the first time I had noticed this bump on my chest, on my clavicle. It felt like a bone protrusion. But for years before that, I can't remember though, like as a kid or if I was in high school, I think it may have been after college, so like 2014, 15, I started to notice this just like bump on my clavicle, like towards the center of my chest, at the top of my pec, where my pec reaches my neck. And I never thought much of it. I was like, okay, it's just like it's nothing. Well, that same spot, that bump, had like opened up, like it was inflamed, and it really smelled terrible. Like it smelled bad. Like it smelled gross. And, this is right under my nose pretty much. And now this hole where this supposed bone protrusion was has opened up after the events of Friday the 13th. And what I can only equate to an attempted abduction of some sort. And I actually went to the emergency room because I've had, infections before, and knowing, studying some human anatomy and medical stuff in college, like I don't play with infections. I don't play with gangrene. I don't do that. And if something needs to come out, it needs to come out. And the emergency room doctor, he looked at it, but he didn't want, he was like, it's not that inflamed yet. He gave me a prescription for antibiotics, and I already knew the antibiotics weren't going to work because every doctor has done that. And when this has happened before, I get it's a preventative measure. But what I hate taking antibiotics because they wipe out the gut biome, and we are essentially our gut biome. They say you are what you eat, but the biome, the bacteria that is in our stomachs actually has a lot to do with who we are and how we operate and function. So to me, it's a bit of a spiritual as well as a physical sacrifice to trust Western medicine with the constant prescribing of antibiotics. And did I present, my dream or what I experienced going into Friday the 13th to the emergency room doctor? No. But I'm like, this is too coincidental. And so the bed is spewing, the car needed a new battery, the computer's not working, the light is flickering, not all the lights, but just one right above the front door. The motion sensor, my alarm system's going off, and now I'm spewing. I'm breaking down, like I'm breaking open. And I went to work on Monday, and this thing, like, I'm trying to cover it up, and I was embarrassed because I could smell it, and I didn't know if other people could smell it. And I'm like, it smells like a nasty infection. Like, it smells like crap. If you've never smelled like a gross, like gangrenous wound, you don't want to, especially not when it's on you and under your face. So I was doing my best, but Tuesday, 2015th, so that would have been 16th, the 17th, Tuesday, I went to the emergency room. No, I went to the doctor. I went to my primary care provider because he is used to what's called an IND, an incision and drainage, because some people are just prone to abscesses, especially people with curly hair, black people, it's like ingrown hairs, and like it can be a very painful process. I mean, some of the most trying. I've left emergency rooms before, and the doctor was like, well, congratulations, you've had a baby, because they know, like, taking a scalpel and needles directly to the site it's damn near unbearable. It is damn near unbearable sometimes. And now this was right under my face, but my primary care, very gentle, very kind guy, young doctor, cool. I trust him. Taking a blade close to my throat, right near my clavicle. And this wasn't as messy as, most of these appointments I've had with him. Like, it just seemed very clean, cut it open, let it bleed a little bit. Okay, wasn't that bad, supposedly, allegedly. So I go home. That appointment was into the day. It was like 5 o'clock, so I'm out of the office like 5:30. I grab dinner, get home. I'm about to like grab dinner, and I'm not going to take a shower too quick because I just got a little procedure done. Like, I don't want to get water directly in the wound. But I'm looking at the Band-Aid as I change my shirt, and what was a white Band-Aid when I left the doctor's office is now covered in blood. And it's like dark red blood. And so I'm like, okay, maybe need to change the bandage. But as I go back to it, I see this blood pouring down my chest. It's like dripping, sopping out of the like the cloth, not a band-aid. What do you call it? Not a sponge, but it is pouring out. And so I realize I could pass out, not from blood loss, but from seeing myself bleed. I have passed out before, which is pretty funny, um, because I was with a close friend of mine getting some intravenous vitamins, and they're two emergency room doctors. This was their side job, and they couldn't get a good vein on me, which maybe I was dehydrated, but I was in like really decent shape when I was in Orange County in 2017. And they take me to another room, because it's like this nice like spa area, and me and him are just like, doing some bro time. And it was my sponsor. It was my sponsor in the program at the time. And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna try, to put the IV in your hand. And so I watch them put the needle in my hand, and I watch it like fill up with blood and like turn. And I felt myself like leaving myself. Like I didn't know what was happening, and I put my hand on one of the girls' back, and everything just went black. But I could hear them start shuffling and running around, and I'm like, this isn't right. Like something's not right. And like telling myself to wake up, like get up. And they ended up like breaking out like the smelling salt and like bringing me back. But I passed out from watching. They were like, your vein blew, like it blew when they poked it or something like that. And my sponsor was giving me slack. He's like, so you're telling me you'll let somebody shoot you up with junk, somebody you hardly even know, but you pass out when two emergency room doctors are trying to put an IV in? All right. I mean, I was out of my control. What am I going to do? So I was mindful of that. Here we are, the 17th of December, 2019, in my apartment in the evening. And so I'm like, I got to get to the hospital. I put on like this button-down Billabong hoodie I've had since high school, throw on some jeans. And as I'm driving to the hospital, which is 2 miles away, not very far, same road I live on, and I can feel the blood pouring out of me, like covering, saturating this thick wool button-down hoodie, getting all over my jeans. And I just want to see, like, am I exaggerating from the feeling? Because everything's feeling warm, and then it's feeling cold because air hits, like liquid on your skin. It feels chilly. My shirt was so stuck to my body. As I pulled it off my skin, you can see, like, it looked like a horror movie. Like, it looked like the type of stuff you see, like, hanging from a ceiling in a haunted house, like stringy, coagulated blood pouring out of this little hole incision that was made in my chest. And it's like, this isn't just like pus or clear fluid. This is blood, and it's all over me, and it's mine. So I walk into the ER, and the hoodie is black, so people can't really tell. And they're like, can you fill this out and stuff like that? And I just open up my shirt, and they're like, okay. Like, they just wheel me back like ASAP, and there's blood dripping on the floor. Immediately they start getting me out of my clothes. They're like, okay, let's take this off. And for the next 3.5 hours, they could not stop the bleeding. They could not stop the bleeding. And I was calling family members. I called my grandmother, who didn't answer. I called my mother, who didn't answer at first. And then I called my great-grandfather, and I felt bad for that. But I knew if he called them, they would answer. And, I told him. He's like, ah. And I'm like, I'm in the emergency room. Like, I'm trying to get in touch with my grandmother and my mom. Like, can you just tell them I'm in the emergency room? I'm not really sure what's going on. And he's like, all right. So I get a call from my mother, and I'm trying to tell her what's going on. She's like, maybe you have leukemia. And I'm like, all right, I got to get off the phone with you, because that is not like what you want to hear when you're like bleeding out of your chest and they can't get the bleeding to stop. I was having a full-on anxiety attack. Like, and that's the diagnosis on the discharge papers. And granted, I was going through a lot of stressful stuff at that time. I mean, a lot of stressful stuff, which is an episode for another day. But that definitely contributed to this accumulation. And now I was concerned I'm bleeding out of my chest. And what they have to do is work in the wound to stop the bleeding. So not only was it gory and bloody, it was painful. And they were bringing these med students to like come and look at me, like just made me super uncomfortable and irritated. They finally, a doctor was able to get it. And they were, I mean, there were so many doctors and specialists like debating on, well, why haven't you done this? Because we want to see if we can get it stopped. Like, and I felt as if that something got activated on Friday the 13th during that attempted abduction, and something wanted clearly to come out of me that I can't remember when it got there. Like this bone protrusion, this nodule on my clavicle. I really couldn't tell you when was the first time I started feeling it, but sometimes I would just sit there and kind of rub it and play with it. And now what I thought was bone, and I had to throw all those clothes away, all that gunk that came out. And I'm like wondering, I've heard of people, like, I'm not saying I found something or anything ever came up on an x-ray, but have talked about being probed. And so I'm like left with the question of, was that attempted abduction drawn to me because of this probe that might have been implanted at some point? I don't know. I don't know why exactly that spot got inflamed. There was no ingrown hair there, or maybe there was and it fell out in all the blood. But what was determined is that the primary care that initially did the IND, the incision and drainage, had actually nicked my brachial artery. So I was having an arterial bleed. I think that the anxiety I experienced was very much justified, because if you had seen the amount of blood that was coming out of me and the concentration of it, I had never seen blood in so many different forms, stringy and spongy and just all type of contraptions, coagulated. And I went to work the next day and I'm like, yeah, well, I spent the night, in the ER. That was a hell of a time. But yeah, what's up? What you got for me? What's next? Like it's nothing. And so, to this day, I cannot get over the fact that Friday the 13th, 2019, December, was one heck of a day. And it was the beginning of a series of events that, to me, are somewhat unexplainable. Part 5. The Dreams. After that, I had a dream where the apartment complex, like these buildings are old motels in Palm Springs, so they have like 8 units in each, just 2-story, pool in front, very classic, modern design, simple living type, just Palm Springs, just idyllic, nostalgic type thing. And I had the dream that the complex next to me was having like a party, and we did have issues with people parking in our parking spot where when they were like doing Airbnb for this place, because it wasn't an actual, it was a hotel, but not like it was a new age motel where people would just sign up on Airbnb. They thought they could park wherever, whereas we were residents in the building next door, and they would park right in front of our building and then walk around to the entrance, or they'd ask us how to get in and all this stuff. So being the neighborly guy that I am, I would politely say, this is private parking. Could you please move your car? Obviously, people aren't too keen on that. But in the dream, I'm walking over and I meet these like extra tall humanoids, and they all drive Jeep Wranglers for some reason. And then we chop it up, and I guess they wanted to come hang out with me because they were new in the area. Well, I go back to my place and I'm walking up the stairs, and there's people running in and out of my unit. And then there is this big explosion. Now, given the circumstances, yeah, sure, of course, you're going to have a dream about an explosion. The visual of it, though, was this fire through the trees in the distance, like towards like downtown, the middle of town. And through the trees, I'm seeing this fire come out of the ground, and it's exploding, but it's also controlled. And rather than panic, everyone is just looking at it, whereas I'm trying to kind of get out of there until I realize, okay, this isn't a huge threat. Like, these humanoids or whoever else is around is calm. And going into New Year's, I was out on my front porch, week or two. We go through Christmas, now it's New Year's, and of course I look over because I hear fireworks. And what do I see? I see fireworks through the trees, the same spot I'd seen in my dream. These controlled explosions of fireworks. Moving forward, in January, I had a heart attack, as I mentioned before on this show, and it was ongoing. I didn't know I was having a heart attack. It wasn't the type where your heart races. It's the type where your heart starts releasing troponins, and that's what it would do if it thought it was dying, because there was some damage going on from stress due to the things I was going through and dealing with that were seemingly out of my control, but from people threatening my life to wheels on my car being dismantled and my wheel falling apart while I'm driving because someone took the lug nuts off of it. And there's no security footage all of a sudden at the apartment complex, and they're telling me they want me to move out. So I had a general idea of who was trying to intimidate me and scare me. But, that makes it difficult for anyone to sleep at night, especially when you're alone in a building with just you and your dog in the middle of the desert. Palm Springs or not, there ain't much going on outside of that little town strip. So that Monday, I had a dentist appointment. It was Monday, January 27th, I believe. And it was just a horrific dentist appointment. Like, the back of the chair would not, like, the headrest kept like moving, so she would try to numb me up or like do some drilling and stuff, and like I would obviously brace, but the chair would buckle. And so the nurse who was helping her like literally positioned her knee under my head. Like, it was one of those dentist appointments that you dread. And the nurse actually gave me a hug after I left because she just felt so bad. I had gone through that, and they didn't even do like a lot of the work that they wanted to do, but it was brutal. And so I don't know if that pain initiated the heart attack. I felt just heartbroken because Kobe Bryant died that weekend, tragically. And so I just felt heartbroken in general. I thought it was me being overly emotional. So yeah, that was the 28th of January. And that night, it was like I could not sleep for the life of me, even though I was tired. And when I did go to sleep, I fell into this dream. Now this I know I'm dreaming, but I'm in my apartment. I'm in my studio. It's like I'm it felt like I'm dreaming that I woke up and it's daylight. And so I know I'm dreaming but I'm in where I'm dreaming, if that makes sense, in my bedroom. And someone's outside my door, and I look outside my door, and it's 5 witches, like looking like some shit out of Eyes Wide Shut, with these masks on and like velour capes, velvet capes, and they're just like right outside my window, right at my front door. 5 female, like all I can describe them as like these masked witches, like brujas. Like I was not having it. And so I kind of like, I guess, woke myself up out of the dream. Like I got to this point where I was panicking so much. I'm like, ugh, like I need to get out of here. Well, I come to and it's still like daylight and I'm back in my apartment. And I look outside my window and this car pulls up. And I know, my intuition is like something's off with this car because there's no one else living in the building at this point. And it's just me, and I'm not expecting anybody. And this young black man gets out, and I'm like, he has a gun. He has a gun. And he's coming up here to shoot me. I'm like predicting the dream before it happens. So I'm trying to lock the door as he's approaching, and he kicks in the door, and he's pointing the barrel right at me, and he shoots, and then I wake up, and I'm back in the room again. And I go to my window and I look out, and the street, the fog, like I'm on the second story. So the fog, there's like a cloud where I can't see the street. All I can see is like the telephone wires. And there is a ram running on the telephone wires, like, like a mountain goat. And then it just jumps off into the fog, like down below into a tree or something, or the street maybe. Wasn't really sure what any of that meant. But let me tell you something. A brother was not sleeping that night. And so one of the things that happens when someone's body is in a state like that, I genuinely believe physically my body did not want me to go to sleep because of what was going on with my heart. My brain was not allowing it. Spiritually, this is why it's spiritual, because a couple of weeks later, after it was all said and done, at the hospital stay for a week and, just on the mend, and then ended up going back to the hospital a week after getting discharged in February. I'm chilling with my dog, and I hear voices, and I'm not expecting anybody. I don't know why anybody would be on the property. I look out my window, and there's a gaggle of 5 women touring the property. Now, no one has told me officially. I've received no letter that the building I'm living in is for sale. And so now there's this realtor with women on my porch. And so I had to call the cops before because I didn't know who these random people were gaining access to it. And the thing is, if they had access to the front door, that key also opened up my door. And so that's illegal. And the cops told me, like, yeah, they can tour like empty units, but they can't come to your front porch. Now that's trespassing. I was made aware I had every right to protect myself because I was letting them know I'm getting death threats. Like, I'm thinking about getting a gun. I don't feel safe living here. The power is getting turned off. I'm coming home where I left my dog and my door is unlocked, and now there's random groups of people. And I had dreamt of 5 women outside my door, and here we are weeks later. There are 5 women unannounced that don't like me and I don't like them at my door. So when the dreams started to become real, and it's not the first time. In high school, I was on my way, I think it was like junior year. I stepped out my door at like 7:20 in the morning. I had a 10-minute ride to school, supposed to be there by 7:35. And right as I stepped out, I heard a gunshot, like just a gunshot, like a pop. And then I kind of went deaf, like my ears were ringing. It was like somebody shot a gun right by my head. And I looked down the street. No one was out there. Ain't nobody well, maybe my stepdad did, but nobody shot a gun in my house. But I was like, that was weird. Got called out of class early that day. Stepdad picks me up, and he let me know that our family friend, who was also our handyman, my mom's best friend's husband at the time, had died. And I asked, did he get shot? And he said, yeah, he shot himself. And so I already had known. I knew what it was, and it was like around 7:20 that morning. So I don't take that gift lightly, and I guess I'm excited as I venture into what this is, because with the ghost stories I've told on this show before, you know, someone told me at the dog park, she's like, I think they're trying to tell you something. They're trying to communicate with me. And there have been, witnesses. So it's baffling. And I'm honored. At the same time, I also find it my duty to share about it, because it's more than dreams to me. They're premonitions. They're occurrences. I had a dream in high school, freshman year probably. Yeah, it had to be freshman year. Where there were just I was hearing a woman scream, and there were just black shadows. They stagnated in this like sea of white. And months later, the dream didn't scare me or anything. I didn't really think much about it until I'm walking away from these doors that led out the cafeteria to the parking lot where people would hang out while they wait for the activity buses, what they call it, when you stay late after school for an activity, and then there's the second round of buses that come and take you home. I hear a girl screaming, and I look back, and these guys, back then it was about the black tee, the white tee, like these huge oversized tees, look like dresses, posted up, and this big guy has got this girl wrapped up in his arms, and he's picking her up, and she's playfully screaming like, oh my God, put me down. But it wasn't even deja vu. I mean, it was, you could call it that, but I had seen it before it happened. If you know what this is I'm dealing with, what this is I have, I would appreciate it. More recently, I'm having dreams of people that are on their journeys of sobriety as well. And I'll be honest, like, they're people I find attractive, these guys, but they are giving me change. They're giving me like coins, and sometimes they're in two places at once. So they'll be the person I'm talking to, and they'll also be like the cashier at the restaurant, or I'll see them pull up to the grocery store, but they'll also be the cashier, and they're like, hey, like, your change, here you go. And so I don't know if that means like they're literally handing me the change I need in my life, the exact amount of what is owed me. It's the same currency we all use. They use this currency. I use it too, these coins, but this is mine. This is what's owed me type thing. It's very, very intriguing. In any case, something has been weighing on me to share, and honestly, the Conjuring movie came out, and I watched it today, and I was like nervous about watching it because I like scary movies, but I don't like overthinking them. Who wants more nightmares? But I realize I appreciate the cinematography, and the overarching theme is good prevailing over evil in those. As scary and sinister as they make them, good always wins. Who's it? Eleanor and Ed, or the what do you call them? Detectives. The real life people that this stuff is based on, that experience and went through this. Like, I get it. I relate to it, and so I was like, I gotta watch this today, because I've been waiting on this. I don't play hide and clap anymore, and whenever I move into a new place, I definitely ask any lost souls to go ahead and vacate, because I'm here now. In any case, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm glad I'm able to share that with you. If you have any questions, concerns, or information that might help me on my journey, reach out to erhunter.live. That's erhunter.live. You can email me at earth, that's ERTH, earth without the A, earth at erhunter.live. We are on Instagram, The Rhetorical Sake, Twitter, sake_podcast, Facebook, The Rhetorical Sake. I think that's about it. I would give you my phone number, but I don't know you like that yet. In any case, thank you so much. Beware of the next Friday the 13th. And, oh yeah, there was a full moon that night in 2019. Go figure. Go figure. And bonus, there was like this green meteor like weeks later that if I hadn't dropped my keys, I looked up and it like crashed right in front of the mountain, the big mountain in Palm Springs. Like it was amazing. I mean, and I saw it as a sign that I was going to get through whatever I was going through. So no matter what hell or curse or threat anyone is trying to put on my life, what I know is that good always prevails over evil. I'll leave you with that. Have a good one.